I, I saw that happen inside of a family and went years without speaking. And it was when one party came to the other and said, it was a gift. It was actually concert tickets.
Wow.
And it said, hey, I bought 2 tickets. And they pulled up to their house, knocked on the door. Have not done that in a decade plus.
Wow. Do they live in the same area?
Lived down the street from each other.
Oh, my word.
Wow.
Had to pass houses for years.
Wow.
And pulled in and said, hey, I have tickets to a concert. You would enjoy this, and I want you to go with me. And they went together.
I didn't understand that.
Yeah. They went together, got in the vehicle, drove to where the concert was.
Yeah, that's like more than a gift. It's a proposition.
Yeah, and the relationship was restored.
Hey, before we jump into the podcast, we want to thank all our donors and supporters who make the Today Count show possible. It's through your generosity that we're able to shape leaders through this content and this podcast. And be sure to like, subscribe, and follow wherever you find yourself coming across this content. All right, let's get to the podcast.
Hey, guys, so let me ask you this question. This chapter that we're about to get into, Genesis 33. So think about this. How often do you think this is true? There's 2 family members at some point in time, and they have a train wreck, with each other. And so they separate. How long was Jacob gone?
This was 20 years.
Yeah, 20 years.
20 years separation.
So, all right. So the family essentially splits, at least the brothers split into 2 for 20 years. How many families have gone through that? They had some kind of a train wreck, the family splits, and then how many ever get back together? How many do? That's what this chapter is about. 2 brothers, right? 2 brothers who should have loved each other, cared about each other, but had a up and down, well, mostly down kind of a relationship, and then split apart 20 years. And now this is a chapter that talks about their reunion. Verse 10, I want to read verse 10 because it's my favorite verse in this chapter. Verse 10 says, "No, please," said Jacob, "if I have found favor in your eyes, accept this gift from me. For to see your face is like seeing the face of God, now that you have received me favorably." You can just sense the relief. Everybody, welcome back to the Today Count show. Today, we have 3 amigos here. We have Pastor Matt Martin, Pastor Winston Harris, and yours truly, Jim Piper. So, guys, I'm going to start reading through it, but if you want to interrupt me at any point, just interrupt me, and let's read about this reunion. Now, I have been personally touched by this chapter because it does represent some of my family tree, and being a pastor for however long, I can't remember now, and working with leaders, it's unfortunately more common than uncommon, right? Where families have splintered apart. No longer do they do the holidays together. Many don't even talk. Many even pretend the other ones don't exist. So I don't know. There's a lot in here.
There is. I have some personal experience, not with me, but within a family unit that happened for. It wasn't quite 20 years, but it was a long time, and would actually show up at family holidays and gatherings and not talk to each other in the same room.
Oh, that would be worse.
Yeah. So not one just being absent.
It'd be almost better just to not be around.
Yeah. So it would get really awkward with that. The interesting thing, and we'll see it in the story, but I'll go ahead and lay out a little bit of the plot line here is the thing that reignited that relationship back to wholeness and health again was one party went to the other with a gift.
Interesting.
Yeah. So we can unpack that a little more.
Interesting.
A little bit
really interesting. Yeah. In our situation, and it is it's just not my nuclear, but it is our, I wonder if that will ever happen and how will it happen. So that's interesting that you say that. And this one's been going on now for probably 16 years, something like that. All right. So again, the rules are you can interrupt, right? So we'll just get going here. It's not a long chapter, everybody, but welcome back to the Genesis Project. Here we go. Genesis chapter 33, verse 1. Jacob looked up, and there was Esau coming with his 400 men.
Not traveling lightly.
No, no.
Show of power,
Yeah.
can you say?
And then watch what he does, because he already did some of this. So, in the previous chapter, you get more context about this, boom, right here. So he divided the children among Leah, his first wife, Rachel, his favorite and chosen wife, and the two female servants, their servants. He put the female servants and their children in front, Leah and her children next, and of course, Rachel. And here's the name that we're heading towards, Joseph. It's the first time we read of Joseph, is it not? In Genesis 33. And of course, Genesis apex ends, I don't know if it's apex, but it ends with this huge, what do we call the fireworks show on 4th of July when the grand finale?
Yeah.
Kind of ends with the grand finale of Joseph and his escapades, and Joseph in the rear. So he's just a kid. He himself, that is Jacob, and remember his name now has been changed to Israel. He himself went on ahead and bowed down to the ground 7 times as he approached his brother. But Esau ran to meet Jacob and embraced him. Wow. I mean, that's a big deal. 20 years. And, last I remember, Esau said he's going to kill Jacob. He threw his arms around his neck and kissed him, and they wept. Then Esau looked up and saw the women and children. Who are these with you? He asked. Jacob answered, they are the children God has graciously given your servant. Then the female servants and their children, you can kind of see this, approached and bowed down. In my imagination, I see them kind of encroaching slowly and bowed down. Verse 7, next Leah and her children came and bowed down. Last of all came Joseph and Rachel, and they too bowed down. It almost seemed like a choreographed play,
Right.
That you can imagine, right? Verse 8, Esau asked, what's the meaning of all these flocks and herds I met? To find favor in your eyes, my lord, he said. But Esau said, I already have plenty, my brother. Keep what you have for yourself. No, please, said Jacob. If I have found favor in your eyes, accept this gift from me. For to see your face is like seeing the face of God, now that you have received me favorably. Please accept the present that was brought to you, for God has been gracious to me, and I have all I need. And because Jacob insisted, Esau accepted it. Then Esau said, let us be on our way. I'll accompany you. But Jacob said to him, my Lord knows that the children are tender and that I must care for the ewes and cows that are nursing their young. If they are driven hard just one day, all of the animals will die. So let my Lord go on ahead of his servant while I move along slowly at the pace of the flocks and herds before me and the pace of the children until I come to my Lord in Seir. Esau said, let me leave some of my men with you. But why do that? Jacob asked. Just let me find favor in your eyes, my Lord.
He's pretty much telling him, I just want to hear you're okay. We're good.
Yeah.
Now let's just everybody go their way.
Yeah.
You don't keep your people around. I just take these gifts. I can feel better about myself. And I know it's deeper and larger than that, but there's on the surface.
I think that's going to prove to be true, right? Because one of the things we'll have to talk about was this simply politeness, or was he deceiving again, right? But it'd be weird to be deceiving after the gift and the hugs and the kiss, and I don't know. Anyway, verse 16. So that day Esau started on his way back to Seir. Jacob, however, went to Succoth, where he built a place for himself and made shelters for his livestock. That is why the place is called Succoth. After Jacob came from Paddan Aram, he arrived safely at the city of Shechem in Canaan and camped within sight of the city. For 100 pieces of silver he bought from the sons of Hamor, the father of Shechem, the plot of ground where he pitched his tent. There he set up an altar and called it El Elhoi Israel. First thing that caught me, guys, was just, I don't know. I mean, I just can't help but remember how this thing ended. All I can think of is that when Jacob wrestled with God, as we looked at previously, it broke him. It said that he walked with a limp the rest of his life. And so here he bows 7 times. Now, as I understand, if I remember right, Near Eastern ways is that you bowed 7 times to monarchs, to people of stature.
So it's a form of submission to
Yeah.
him. So Jacob's saying, I'm submitting to you either out of because I've done you so wrong or out of submission as the older sibling, even though we're twins, but we all know how that unpacked.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and the reason why I said this wasn't just a chasm between the two brothers, the whole family in some degree was part of it, right? I mean, it was weird, and yet we don't read about any of the other extended family being involved in this,
yeah.
right?
I mean, I just like what happened to Esau over those 20 years?
Yeah,
like we know Jacob wrestled with God, but like
yeah.
who did Esau wrestle with? Like how did he arrive to this point where he's still not wanting to kill Jacob? Like that's fascinating.
Yeah. How did he find a place of forgiveness to come to this moment, and that God had blessed him? I mean, we see the blessing. Both children are blessed abundantly. This
400
isn't
men is
right. I mean that's not nothing. And so to which causes me, or should cause us to wrestle down, a couple of things. One, everything's not what it seems, just looking from the outside in, because if you looked at Esau, you could easily paint him. And I know there's a whole lot of story. Just go back but um, in context of what happened, outsider looking in, you could feel sorry for him. You could, oh, he was the victim. Oh, he got done wrong. And yes, true. He was lied to. Yes, he was. His own mother was there to disrupt the truth of what was happening. And so, what happened in those 20 years?
You could also accuse him of being weak.
Yeah. And how did So, what did happen so that he comes along, that he still succeeds? So, it's a little bit of a Cinderella story almost. Hey, you were not destined to succeed, but yet you have. But what's interesting as I read through this and you see it is he's very adamant that in saying that I already have plenty. Jacob, I don't need anything else. And it is the relational side that we miss so many times because we allow all the stuff to get in the way. We think they have it together, but really it does boil back down to relationship, to forgiveness, to bridging the gap of the egregious act that was done. I saw that happen with inside of a family, and went years without speaking. And it was when one party came to the other and said it was a gift. It was actually concert tickets.
Wow.
And it said, "Hey, I've bought 2 tickets." And they pulled up to their house, knocked on the door. Have not done that in a decade plus.
Wow. Do they live in the same area?
Lived down the street from each other.
Oh my word.
wow.
Had to pass houses for years.
Wow.
And pulled in and said, "Hey, I have tickets to a concert. You would enjoy this, and I want you to go with me."
Wow.
And the other party looked at him, said, "Okay," and they went together. And
I didn't understand that.
They went together and got in the vehicle, drove to where the concert was.
Yeah, that's like more than a gift; it's a proposition.
Yeah,
yeah,
and was there, and the relationship was restored after all of those years.
Yeah, it's funny that you brought this up, Winston, because I never really thought about that.
Yeah.
Your Esau perspective, but it is true what we know about, or at least what our faith teaches us about God, right? Is that God's up to something. So somebody might be in the limelight, somebody might be in the spotlight. Here we are following Jacob, in his life, and we have forgotten about old Esau, but God didn't, right? God didn't.
And I went back to Genesis 25. It was clear also that God told, their mom, that the older will serve the younger. The way that it played out wasn't ideal, but still, this was
Yeah.
God's will,
Yeah.
Yeah,
ultimately.
yeah. Regardless of the blessing that was spoken,
Yeah.
God trumped it.
Yeah, I love that question. What happened in those 20 years? Yeah. Which again is there's two things that you asking that question. One is we don't always see everything God is doing in people's lives. We only see the outcomes. We don't see the inward work that God is doing behind the scenes in the late nights, the early mornings, the lonely moments, the fulfilling moments, and God redirecting. That's one of the things that comes to mind. The other thing is, and this is when I tell people when they're studying scripture, remember that everything that happened could not be recorded, or we wouldn't be able to hold the book.
Right.
And so the storyline that is being preserved is the lineage of the Messiah. And so Esau plays a part of that, but we couldn't chase that storyline all the way down. We're preserving the greatest love story ever told of God chasing after man. And so we had to see how it filtered through. So we get to see the glimpses of Esau and the trouble that Jacob went through.
Yeah.
But we don't get a firsthand account, because the story that's being told is here's the coming Messiah through the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Yeah, that's the thread through
Yeah.
the whole story, right? But if God didn't work in both men's lives, this reunion wouldn't have happened. Look with me, you guys, at verse 6, because to me, I get kind of romantic on this, or sentimental, or whatever the right word is. They didn't have Facebook. They didn't have pictures. They didn't have Instagram.
I wish we still didn't. But
Yeah. You know what? I have to agree with you on that. I really do.
I'm a proponent.
You're a proponent. Okay.
Proponent.
Yeah, it's 2 against 1. You
yeah,
lose.
you lose.
So they've heard of this man named Esau, right? They've heard of him. They've been coached on him, probably. But now there he is. There he is, and they had to be somewhat stunned with the history, seeing them hug each other's neck and crying. And then, as we read earlier, how they, in this domino effect or accordion effect or whatever the right term is, they each begin to bow down around this gathering. I mean, it was like a holy moment. It was like one of those times that, life is good, right? Life has trouble, but then it's moments like that where they go, man, this is something else. It's something else.
What kind of jumps out to me, and I'm throwing this out here for y'all to just maybe there's nothing here, but verse 4 says, then Esau ran to meet him and embraced him, threw his arms around his neck and kissed him. And then if you go to the prodigal son story in Luke 15, it says, but while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. That's just real interesting how similar those specific lines are, though obviously different contexts.
Yeah.
But that jumped out to me. I'm like, that's really similar.
Yeah.
And even the sequence of how that unfolds.
Yeah. I read one commentary said that it says they both wept. They said Jacob may have been weeping in tears of joy that he hadn't been murdered
Right.
by his brother.
Yeah.
It was tears of relief
Right.
is what Jacob was feeling. But I think the same thread, Winston, runs through that Jacob had been the one who had created the issues and created the problems, so he didn't know what the response would be. And I think we do get to see grace here played out in the book of Genesis, and a thread that does weave its way through the entire scripture.
It was almost like he was willing to, within reason, accept the consequences. After having his hip, AKA heart, adjusted, by God. I mean, obviously he wasn't giving himself up for that necessarily. He's still dividing the family, trying to, figure out survival tactics. But he wouldn't even be in the neighborhood. He wouldn't even be, he would have gone a completely different, direction. So, yeah, I like how you're thinking like that, Matt, because thinking, so his mindset was, whoa, I just wrestled with God. I've just been forgiven by my brother. What is this? And then looking at it from Esau's perspective, it was his little brother that hurt him. And being the elder, right? Being the oldest, being that I'm the eldest, not that any of my brothers have ever done that to me, there is a pinging in your heart to love, to forgive. If there's something to forgive, to forgive. Now, as the eldest in my family, I always kind of look at it the other way. Man, I stunk as an older sibling. I was the cool teenager, with his car, and then at some point, you leave behind your bros, and that's always an interesting family. Family dynamics are interesting that way.
Great leaders don't ignore their past; they learn from it. Every decision you've made, every mistake, every win, every failure. It's all shaping the leader you're becoming. In Story, the art of learning from your past, you'll discover how to turn experience into wisdom, setbacks into strategy, and pain into purpose. This isn't just a book about reflection, it's a playbook for growth. If you want to lead with clarity, humility, and confidence, your story matters. Learn from it. Grab your copy of Story, the art of learning from your past, where books are sold.
One of the things I was thinking, I've kind of said it already, but you actually wrote a book called Story, and if you haven't bought that book, go to Amazon and buy that book.
Thank you, Matt.
One author to another.
Do I need to reciprocate?
No, do not. No, we're focusing on the story. But here's why. I've noticed that over the last couple years, and reading your book inspired me even more. But when I'm speaking to a group of people, I've started kicking off my talk with, we all have a story, and we all have our own unique things that have happened to us that have gotten us to this place. And your story is different than mine, and there may be some similar themes and there may be some similar moments, but you have a happiness of something that I did not get to experience. You have a sadness of something I have not experienced. I the same. So we all have these moments that have brought us to here, even to view this through. And sometimes we discount other people's story,
right,
because we didn't see what happened.
And they discount their own story.
They discount their own story. But look at this. Look, if you go from chapter 32, Jacob wrestles with God and says, I'm not leaving till I'm changed. And then the story opens. Now I know, nightfall had happened and things happened, but Jacob looked up and there was Esau coming with his 400 men. An encounter with God, and then consequences is what it feels like.
Yeah.
Now Esau,
because both can happen.
Because both can happen, and we're talking through this story, and we see Esau is showing up with forgiveness in his heart, but Esau doesn't know that Jacob wrestled with God,
right?
And he doesn't know
true.
that Jacob's heart is going to be softened and is going to be tender and is going to be less deceiving than normal. And so we have to give people credit, whether we're in working relationships, family relationships. There are things happening that they may be laying in bed in the middle of the night, staring holes in the ceiling, and God is doing a work in them. And the next day that we see them, we don't know if we're going to get, which side that we're going to get. And when they show up, we can't just be like, oh, you're just deceiving me again. Man. No, there could be a God moment in the story.
You just painted such a great picture of faith. We fret, we worry, we have anxiety, we draw opinions upon the very limited knowledge that we have
of someone's story.
Yeah. And
it really, for me, it's causing me to open my eyes and my and the way that I receive them more. I'm more open, I guess is what I'm trying to say, to that pain's causing you to act that way. Yeah, that happiness is letting you come out this way, and whatever that looks like. So I'm not just putting them in a box and sticking them on a shelf.
That's so good. As you know, Matt, if I have context and opportunity when we end our leadership, our 2026 version leadership workshop, I walk around the room and ask people, what's one thing?
Yeah.
And it's so funny that you mentioned that, because one of the ladies said in Florida this past week that that triangle that I
Yeah.
drew about temperament at the bottom, story in the middle, and then character at the top. She said, I was just so reminded that everybody has a story. And it's such, as leader, it's so important to know our people's story. If we can really shepherd them and care for them, whether we're in the business world, whether we're in the ministry,
Yeah.
family,
Yeah.
is, to really appreciate and to think through people's story. It's significant. It's not about sympathy. It's not about,
No, not
those
pity.
things.
It's not.
No, it's not
No.
about that at all. It's just recognizing there probably is no story exactly like your story.
it.
Now it sounds like a TV infomercial, but
I believe that it's also true compassion.
yeah,
Compassion is built is rooted in that I can have compassion with you because you have a story that I don't know all the details of. And as I've led people, man, for the last long time,
It's a
while
long
you and I
time.
are against.
I know.
So, yeah.
Winston keeps asking me questions like that on the podcast, and I just go blank. I'm going,
No.
how old am I?
Yes, that's how I feel.
Me and
And
Abraham are starting to get about.
You guys
Yeah.
are starting to become myths.
That's it. We need you to repair that arc you worked on, man. So there's some damage on one
Oh,
side.
man, it's feeling like it.
Yeah, but whether leading in business or in church and leadership, volunteer, pay, whatever that looks like, I have failed at times. I have failed my employees. I have failed those I've been working with because either I assumed something about their story, I didn't listen to their story, or I didn't ask the questions I needed to ask about their story. And therefore I couldn't lead them to the place they needed to go because there was a piece of their story that was holding them back or was hindering what was
Yeah.
happening. And I think it's a great leader principle across the board. And
I think that's almost a episode by itself, because some people will take their story and that will be their excuse
yes,
instead of look at it from a higher elevation, and how is God using my story? How is God integrating Himself into my story? And theologically, isn't it all His story?
right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, 100%. That's, when Winston and I, we talk about a lot of things a lot of time, but, I've told him before, when I look at all of my life experiences, because there were jobs that I had that I hated. I've only been employed, W-2 employed three times in my life. Most of the time I was in business, and so when I hated that job, I started a new one, but there was times that especially when I was young, that I was doing certain things and I didn't love it and it frustrated
That's
me.
when the clock just went tick.
Oh gosh.
Tick.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
It
Brutal.
took 3 days for 8 hours to
Yeah,
go by.
yeah. Versus a job you love, you go, where did
Where
they
did
go?
they go? That's it. But I look back now, decades later, and I see how, one, they formed me a little bit, but also along the way, there's some knowledge I received that is helping me successfully live out my story today because of then. And I can't discount my story of what happened, of all the things that have woven through. And so I get to tell stories like, let me tell you about the time I was buried alive.
Yeah, yeah. That was good.
We'll do
Great
that on
story.
another episode.
It is a
Great
great
story.
story. It is a great story.
Verse 9, I think what a snapshot of the maturity that they've arrived to. It says, my brother, I have plenty. Esau answered, keep what you have for yourself. But if you go back just a few chapters, and they're both fighting for the inheritance, they're fighting for what their father could give them, they're fighting for what could be. And 20 years later, somehow they both have arrived at this perspective that, like, no, you take it, no, you take it, no, you take it, no, you take it.
Yeah, they were living in, how do we call it today? They're living in a mindset, a scarcity
scarcity
mindset
mindset.
versus an abundance
Yeah.
mindset,
Yeah.
which we know can be, exaggerated. And of course, we have a lot of silver-tongued people who do that, but that's a central truth. There was that old hymn. He owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. That's a verse in it,
It's
right?
a verse.
Or is that the
That's-
title?
Winston doesn't know.
I have no idea
I'm
what you're
we're not
talking
even
about.
looking at Winston.
No, we just knew to look at each
Is
other.
that elevation rhythm? Is that
No.
elevation
No.
rhythm?
No.
No. It might
Is that
have,
North Rock
It was
worship?
before
You might
any
have
of
had
those were born.
you might have had an organ.
Yeah, that's for sure. I read one of the commentaries I read said that with Jacob pressing Esau to take the gift, that you would only take a gift from a friend. You would not take a gift from an enemy. And so again,
Oh, yeah.
another example and layer of Esau extending his hand, really.
This is why having Bible discussion, working through it together in community is
Yeah.
so powerful.
Yeah.
Because it's not like if you do it yourself, you won't get anything out of it. You will. But when you have an opportunity to be in community and do this, I mean, you guys are just throwing stuff and going, how did I not see that? That is such a
Yeah.
great point.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting that he would, I mean, the scripture is clear in verse 11. Esau accepted it, so it was important for Moses to write that. Yeah, Jacob offered it, but Esau did accept it. And again, it was just it was that place of openness and forgiveness. Again, I go back to Winston's question. I think that's the best question. What happened to Esau in those 20 years?
Yeah, we could retitle the chapter, What Happened to Esau?
Yeah,
I mean,
we have no way to answer it.
yeah, it's still a great chapter title though. Well, what do we do with this phrase where he says until verse 14, until, this is Jacob or Israel, we could now call him Israel speaking. He says, until I come to my Lord in Seir, and then we know that in fact he not only did he not, it did not seem apparent that he was ever going to. What do we do with that?
Could it be that once he sees that his bacon has been saved, he's like, okay, I can go back to lying and deceiving again. I don't have to pay for those sins, so I'm gonna tell him I'm going here, because there's actually 2 points of disobedience in this. In the remaining section. One is he lies to his brother about where he went the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Not like veered a couple degrees off.
Right.
You can't say, well, he accidentally. No,
Yeah, I think I read they live about 100 miles apart.
and you're walking.
And that's a long way in our cars.
Yes.
I don't just bring back groceries to you if you're 100 miles away. But if I'm by foot or camel or donkey, I'm pretty sure I read that 100 miles.
And there's the young animals, the young kids. I mean, this is you have to be intentional. You're not wasting a mile if you can help it.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to it but my first thought was Matt's thought. I mean, is he just going back to? But another thought is the language here somewhat cultural? I'm trying to give him an out here, and that just because you reconcile doesn't mean you got to live in the same tent, or maybe all of them can be true. I don't know. I mean, it bothered me because I kept reading, going, okay, well, wait a second. He never gets there. He never goes.
No, and when we get into chapter 34, we'll see the problem of where he stays.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then the second disobedience there. So the deception again is
it's there.
I was trying to go back through the story. Was there a place that Jacob had gone somewhere and then Esau showed up and changed his mind? I mean, I know they had their differences back. I was like, does he have precedent to think, well, if I tell Esau where I'm going, he's just going to come around there with those 400 men and destroy me?
Well, and Matt, you made a point earlier on that, Scripture doesn't tell us everything about what's going on. So there could be inconsequential things here
Right.
that we didn't need to know,
Yeah.
That are there just so that we can sit here and create our own narrative of some sort. But I assume, based upon how this was left off, if one of them went to war and needed the other one's help, that they would be on their way. That's the feeling I got. I mean, you hear about your brother in war. Last time you saw, you hugged each other's neck, kiss, gifts. A gift was given. Forgiveness seemed to be given.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of great things here, because the Jacob Esau story is always framed up as so negative. And we get just a glimpse of grace and love and hope and forgiveness. This really does show the power of forgiveness in your family relationships, your work relationships.
What would life be without forgiveness?
Yeah, brutal.
What would hope for the future be? Winston, it seems like you got gears turning. Before I didn't want to land this plane. If you've got gears,
I mean, I'm still kind of thinking.
I have an idea how I'm going to land the plane, but I don't want to land it too soon, because if you nosedive too soon, it's a crash.
I'm just thinking about your last question about what do we do with how they left off, and it's just like the humanity also. Like, yeah, you want this to be like a fairy tale ending, but it's not. And
Yeah.
the Bible
They're not going to start playing
rarely
wiffle ball in front of the tent, you know?
it's like what though Jacob was changed, he still wasn't perfect,
Right.
Yeah.
right? He wrestled with God, but he's also
We
still
want him to be, though. We want him to be, and he's not.
yeah. And there's a part of that you're reading this and you're like, come on, Jacob. But it's like how often do we find ourselves
all right,
in that
you
space?
led me into it. So here's the other things. You guys know my imagination. Okay, so they're bowing down and everything, but one lady sees another lady from another group, give a funny look.
Yeah.
And so after the tears are gone and all the hugging, then the talking. Did you see how he looked at me? Did you see how you thought he was high and mighty? You know? So,
I mean, people are people.
so you know, that was all good. Let's call that good. And you know, I think we're close enough. I think we're good.
Yeah.
Is
Wow.
that's where my mind went.
Funny.
You know, maybe they got together every Thanksgiving every 5th year, right? You know. Oh, that's right. They haven't met the Pilgrims yet.
No. 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 they
Wrong
haven't.
continent.
Wrong. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Wrong time zone, wrong continent.
Yeah. Wrong dispensation. So I'm not even. Yeah, well, we can go there if y'all want to today. So that seems to be a hot topic. So
Oh, goodness
I mean,
me.
the one other just kind of lingering thing
Yeah.
for me is what was Esau going to do with 400 men?
Yeah, why did he
What-
have him with him?
Like,
whip up on somebody.
I mean, to your point,
Let's go for a walk.
he didn't,
You 400.
he didn't know what Jacob was coming
Right.
with. But though he was changed, though somehow he was willing to
He's like,
forgive,
just
he
in
was
case.
also ready.
Yeah.
Just because you're willing to forgive doesn't also mean you're an idiot.
You know what, you guys?
brought
So
400 men.
did you guys study the directional thing here? Because I didn't. Like, was Esau on his way to somewhere? Did he?
Oh no, I didn't.
I didn't look at that.
I'd have to go look. That's a great question.
How did this encounter even
Yeah.
happen?
Yeah, that's a good.
That is a good question.
I mean, he did. Jacob did send word that
Yeah,
he was coming, but
because they had been talking back.
it was
so
still implied that he was coming.
Yeah.
though. Yeah,
because he sent gifts ahead.
you're right.
Like he goes. I mean, he sends somebody ahead, and Esau's like, I've been here before.
Maybe that's something we could look into
Yeah.
and bring it up next time. But here's how I thought here's see what you guys think about landing the plane this way. I think I want to land it with the title that Winston gave it. But I'm going to a little twist. So Genesis 33 is what happened to Esau. That's the Genesis Project title that we'll give to it. But we could also say in a devotional manner, if someone who hasn't seen you, Winston, in 10 years and then runs into you, maybe they would say, what happened to Winston? Maybe they would say, what happened to Jim? Maybe they say, what happened to Matt?
Yeah,
That's pretty good.
that's good. What do you want them to say when they see you?
And will you have 400 men with you?
Because I'm not coming out. I'm not getting out of the truck.
I can't afford 400 men. Yeah, hey, that is a great question though, because that's what Jonathan basically asked in his message on Sunday and Saturday. You know, what, you know, go out farther. What would you have people say, you know, about you? I'll take a shot at that. I mean, I hope that, because I don't think they would have said this. I think my younger, no one would have taken passion away. That would have been in there. I've always been passionate, enthusiastic, hardworking. That's all youthful stuff. I hope today that they would say kind.
Ah, you took mine.
Oh man. Well, I didn't take it. There's plenty of kindness to go around. That would be one word. So now you have to think of another one, huh?
The older I get, I notice when I notice kindness in people, I tell others they're just a kind person.
Yeah,
And that encompasses so much.
it does.
And it's really become, we didn't know this was going to happen, but it's really become something I'm almost a mantra I'm living by. How can I become more kind?
Yeah, it's a bigger word than even generous.
Because when when you leave kindness, you leave feeling filled up a little bit.
Yeah.
You leave feeling seen.
And you guys haven't read this section yet in the new book that's coming out, but I talk about an elder who approached me when I was leading a church in Southern California, way too big for my age and my shoulders. But he pulled me aside and he saw something that I didn't recognize. He saw inner toil, he saw anxiety, he saw me trying really hard and all of that. So I think he wanted to help me with a course correction. And basically what he said was that, Jim, I know there's even though he was never a minister, he said, I know there's probably a zillion things that a pastor, has to do during the week. He goes, but here's what I want you to remember. I want you to remember that your flock is slugging it out every day at work, at school, in their marriages, in their homes. And if they need anything on Sunday from you, it would be that you have heard from God, that you've prepared your heart, and that you've brought your very best. Secondly, he said, is that because he could tell how competitive I was. He said, don't focus on who's not there. Focus on who is there. Who is there. And I have never forgotten that. So he said that when you have to choose what you're going to spend your time on, work on your heart, work on the preparation, of being with those people. I think I was 30, I think I was probably 31 years old when he pulled me aside and told me that. I mean, that kind of goes with the kindness theme, right? Where you want to refresh.
Yeah.
You want to, I think you said, fill up, encourage others, right?
We'll let the wordsmith finish this out.
I mean, I feel like I need to say I want to be kind too, but
No, you can't be kind. It's already taken.
Too much kindness.
We
Too
took
much
all
kindness.
of it.
I think similar to what Pastor Jonathan preached this weekend, that I was a finisher.
That's good.
That nobody was like he left some stuff on the table. That,
Don't quit.
Well done, good and faithful servant.
Yeah.
Faithful completed the work that was given to him.
Yeah, I fought the fight. I ran the race.
Archippus.
Yeah, that was
Finish
good.
what was given
That
to
was
you.
good. That's good.
Finish what was given to you.
That's better than kindness.
Well, I mean, I think you probably have to be kind to finish.
Let's just finish with friends. At least to finish with a friend.
Yeah, let's just all make each other feel better. Thanks for joining us on the Today Count show, specifically the Genesis Project. We'll see you in Genesis 34.
Thanks for spending part of your day with us on the Today Count show. If today's conversation encouraged you, challenged you, or helped you grow, share it with someone in your circle, because we're better when we grow together. And be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and stay connected with us on Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. And remember, real change doesn't happen someday. It happens today. Until next time, keep showing up, keep building, keep making today count.